LCK didn't take any chances with their team composition yesterday. They picked behemoth team fighting team, and we'll see if they do something similar today.
Well, first ban Rai is going to start things off. Actually, a Rengar ban there from the LCK. So expecting a lot of mid lane fire here. Rek'Sai, though, will be the return. A signature champion of Clearlove going to get taken away from Bengi and LeBlanc as these bans are going very quickly.
I wondered if Team Ice is going to be tricky about the LeBlanc. Wayless, very well-known Diana player, and Diana versus LeBlanc is one of the matchups that still works out, but safe to just ban it away. Probably would have been first pick. There's a lot of LeBlanc today. No Katarina bans so far, though.
Yeah, Katarina has been banned in a lot of games, but specifically Faker played against it yesterday, and while Maple did get a few kills, it was ineffectual in the overall story of the game, so wouldn't expect to see them ban that here.
In general, a decent amount of stuff left up. Karma, the last ban from the LPL, so taking a support away. LCK going to take their time, and another support will get banned away with Zyra, so a lot of that mid lane really opened up, and Syndra, the most obvious thing left open.
And it's also a blocker pick for the Katarina. It's very difficult lane, not impossible, but very difficult to play the Katarina into Syndra, especially because the balance level at the moment, even if you don't hit all the spheres, the ultimate still will do most of the damage. So Syndra first pick, definitely comfort for Wayless.
Yeah, and a lot of power picks are left up, obviously. Even with the first pick, Syndra, Nautilus, and Poppy have been the two premier top laners because of Courage of the Colossus and their ability to proc it so easily. And then I think Lee Sin is actually the best jungler on this patch, even though we see Rengar and Rek'Sai bans, because of the options he has early in the jungle.
One of the interesting trivia points about Bengi is that when you think about his past, you think of his Elise, maybe in the more recent days, Nunu way back. His actual most played champions, not Jarvan's, not Elise, not Nunu, it is Lee Sin. Even if his mechanics weren't great at Worlds, didn't play a lot of it during the year, it is a champion that is associated with him because he's played so much of it. So it's still comfort, and as you mentioned, Jatt, power on 623.
Yeah, and it's so much of the versatility. People do love to kind of criticize Bengi's mechanics so often, but he's still one of the best Lee Sins in the world when he's playing the game. He's not necessarily the fastest player you've ever seen with the combos, but he still pulls them off, he still has the right gank paths, and he can utilize all of the skills.
Well, set up here for LCK. They took Nautilus for the top lane.
I love it.
Thresh locked in, though, and Poppy left open is kind of interesting, but this is Marta going to make a statement.
So we saw Marta make a statement in the 1v1s. He beat Faker, of course. There's certain mind games around that. Now he took the Thresh, and I was actually speaking to Jatt, and I was remembering Peekaboo specifically, who loved to take Thresh, take E, show up in mid lane at level 1, and try and throw off the mid lane. As Marta, after beating Faker in a 1v1, what better thing to do than go for that level 1 drive-by and try and throw off the god in the mid lane?
And he's going to do it. Faker actually locks in Ari right on the Twitch.
This is comfort and also champions that's synonymous with Faker and Prey.
Yeah, I actually think the Ahri's a pretty good champion on this patch as well. Substantial wave clear, and I think it's a pretty good pick into Syndra. Yasuo would have been as well, even if that's just a hover from the 1v1.
And interestingly, during Worlds, Faker was prepping the Ahri pick, played a lot of it in solo queue, went a very interesting build. He changed it towards the end, but he was starting off going Hextech GOP into Lichbane. That was kind of the crazy build he went for. The Ahri is very strong with the new Catalyst as well for sustain. We talked about comfort and synonymous champions. Evelyn's already locked in.
You should do the Vayne.
I mean, yeah, Evelyn's there. I'm kind of thinking, come on, Uzi. Join the club, have a little fun. I mean, Ezreal's a big champion for him as well, but no champion says Uzi quite like Vayne.
Yeah, unfortunate. Unlucky that he picks the Ezreal. He might have to do that if he thinks Mata's never going to be with him in the bottom lane on Thresh, so he's going to be able to have to play a little bit safe. And he's up against the Twitch, so it's tough.
And Mad Life's known for his hook champions. He actually played this support Nautilus yesterday. Smeb has played plenty of it in top, so they can flex. Looks like it will be the flex, because looking like Nautilus top, although Tom Kench has been playing in the top lane as recently as IWC All-Stars. So actually, if they do lock in the Tom Kench, it is still a lot of... we have to wait to that 20-second mark to work out where they're going.
Yeah, Tom Kench is also really good against Syndra just in the overall team composition. Going up against the Poppy, I think either one of them could work. As we mentioned, LCK did play the Nautilus support yesterday, even though it looked like they would be playing the Nautilus top lane, since that's what everyone else was doing. But Smeb's played plenty of Nautilus in his past, so I don't see any harm with him taking a top lane.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see them take Nautilus over Poppy. That was a kind of obvious pick for Mouse. He was playing it at Worlds. It's definitely on a buff with Courage of the Colossus, but looks like LCK will round things out with the Tom Kench pick, and we'll see exactly where the lanes go out. But you know, a little bit of fun here and there, but teams, you can tell, still a very competitive draft from both of them.
I mentioned it, first time between Wayless and Faker. Mid laners that have been around for years, but just never been able to take it on the Rift, and this is very much a skill matchup between the two, and that's what makes it oh so much sweeter.
Exactly. Hoping we're seeing the GLP to Lichbane build out of the Ahri, only because we were prepping that at Worlds, because that we thought that because Syndra was such a perfect ban that he would be playing it against Syndra. Finally able to break it out here. Faker spent so much time trying to find these specific champions for matchups that other people want to either just completely dodge or think are unbeatable. So I really hope we get to see that unless Mata decides to sit mid and screw it up for us.
But that's what I love about SKT in particular is they try and find strategies against the OP. So they don't just auto-ban and solo queue like people were doing for Syndra. They want to say, okay, if there's a scenario where we can't ban the Syndra for some strategic reason, we have an answer to it.
Well, can vote at LOL Esports, either hashtag Firewin or hashtag Icewin, depending on which teams and or regions you are cheering for. It should be one hell of a game, though, as the LPL will once again clash heads with the LCK. Jatt, you said it already, LCK favored historically, but it is All-Stars. There's supposed to be mayhem. Anything could happen in our best of one.
Hey, man, the last time Clearlove beat Korea at an international event was that Game 5 Evelyn MSI in 2015 against Bengi, by the way. It was Bengi's new, a little bit different. And technically, they took a game off of Korea last year at Worlds after losing the first two. But yeah, looking forward to this one.
Well, we'll have to see how it all shakes out. A little bit of love here and there as far as the picks go. A little sad to not see Uzi on the vein, but we'll have to settle for the Ezreal that ravaged poor North America in the recent group stage. But we are out onto Summoner's Rift here. LPL representing Team Ice will roll out, and we'll see kind of how the level 1 shake out.
Yeah, a year and a half ago at MSI, Clearlove brought Evelyn back into the meta, was played quite a bit at the start of summer season in 2015. It's been seen a lot in solo queue. It definitely is one of those power junglers. Fisher at the start of the tournament was talking about the fact that there is kind of 8 junglers right now, maybe 10 that are kind of viable in the new jungle. Yeah. And Evelyn, especially if you can play around that Evelyn, really is one of those picks for sure. Yeah,
and obviously Evelyn has always had the camouflage mechanic. Twitch is another one that can utilize that now. It just makes it really difficult to ward properly in the early game. It necessitates earlier control wards, and the vision radius on the control wards is actually very small, so it's very difficult to cut off Evelyn with any early paths. And the best way you keep track of her, actually, if you're Bengi, is to early invade the jungle and try and start fighting early, and that also lets you keep pace of the camps that the Evelyn has killed and can help you track that way.
Yeah, the battle ward strategy of just seeing the Evelyn contesting the camps, but also just warding camps will let you know when they're cleared and then give you a pretty good indication of which side of the map they're on. Because with the long respawn times, effectively, you can get a pretty good idea if the Evelyn's just camping a lane.
Well, no huge surprises on the Keystone Mastery front. Do have Courage of the Colossus on Thresh, which is maybe a slight surprise, but Uzi going to go for the fervor of battle as well. Definitely favoring a bit more aggression versus Prey's Warlords. Leash on the red buff as well. Clearly will get quite a lot of help. This happened on the Rengar recently, so clearly something practiced for the team.
Yeah, I really like this if your duo lane is willing to give you the extra second so you can save your smite for the next camp. It allows you to power to level 3 much faster. And as you can see, they didn't actually miss any creeps in the lane, so they're going to miss out potentially on the early push, but even now they're actually not because Prey and Mad Life weren't willing to push early, so really no harm done, and it just helps Clearlove jungle.
And just to your point about the Courage of the Colossus Thresh, the reason why it's become the norm is because when you enter in specifically the queue, and as you see, the Flay are both proccing the Courage of the Colossus, so Thresh wants to go in, isn't tanky at the early game, but can get that extra shielding to facilitate the engage.
And no level 1 roam from Mata, but some aggression certainly early on here at level 1 as Uzi just zoning him off this creep wave.
Yeah, and I also kind of want to touch on the junglers because everyone was talking about how the red buff to Krug's level 3 and then gank was just this super OP strategy, but we haven't really seen any of that at AllStar, and that's just because the counter jungle afterwards would be so obvious. If both guys do the same thing and one shows for the gank, it completely exposes the blue side of their jungle and you can completely counter jungle and get like a basically 2-level lead.
And the other kind of tip of the hand is they entered lane a bit later than you would expect. They just rushed to lane, so they know that Evelyn started on the bot side. So just that extra bit of information to play a little bit safer. That's why they gave up the level 2 as well. And on the back foot, as you'd expect in a Tahm Kench lane.
Hook not quite there, but Uzi continuing to apply pressure. Mata will dip down to the left and ward. But Man Life and Prey will pick up what CS they can. As you can see, just a bit of extra vision there. Looks like Bengi is on this side of the map. Clearlove on the opposite there towards the left and top lane. So we'll see if the junglers do want to influence some of these lanes. And looks like Syndra's pushing up as well. So pretty standard so far.
A little bit interesting that Bengi isn't looking to hand over the first blue. Going to go for the energy regen. Korean junglers do, of course, crave the blue, as everyone does in the jungle. But won't be giving it over to Faker. He's going to be looking for a more aggressive route, and he's actually, so far, not spotted.
Yeah, Uzi and Mata have been pushed up so aggressively in this lane. Prey just level 2, but the minion wave is actually dying at about the right time, so even though he would be ganking into a wave, it would still be doable.
So like they kind of know something's up there. They've played back a little more, and this could be trouble.
Well, they both have all summoners, so.
Well, there's actually exhaust onto Marta. Madlife going to look for it as well. Uzi trying to fight prey on the back end, but Marta's taking a lot of damage on the other end. Now Uzi takes the lantern out, hooking onto Madlife. Clearlove down as well. So Flay is back onto the Tom Kench. He's forced to flash out as Madlife has to run, but Bengi taking damage as he'll shift away. Clearlove though flashes in, wants the kill, looks for Clearlove as Wayless down as well. First blood to Marta, double Flay back, and now Wayless going to try to clear them up. Prey gets one to the backside, but Bengi looking to go down as well. Last thought is there, and there's the double for Wayless.
Really big stuff here for the LPL. No counter roam by Faker. He's second to the roam. Wayless gets the bot. Didn't even have the ghost, but this looked good at the start, but it's so tricky to lock down Ezreal and Thresh. Both of them opened up space.
Yeah, Mata and Uzi played this beautifully. Uzi does as much damage as possible on the back and then takes the Lantern. So also notice how no flashes were burned early for Ice, which makes this chase so much easier coming through. Then they also had the Cinder roaming down. He walked all the way there. He doesn't even bring Ghost. He tried to predict on the stun, didn't actually get it, but they were so far ahead on the play that they still managed to pick up the 3 kills.
And roaming ahead of Faker is something that teams were doing consistently in the LCK. I came into Worlds talking about how SKT's form hadn't been great. Very often, Faker would say rooted in mid, pick up in some extra CS, and his opponent would ghost to other lanes and get the advantage. The fact that Wayless did it without Ghost, and look at this, even picks up a blue buff, was high risk, you could argue, giving up a minion wave to Faker, giving up an experience advantage to Faker. When you pick up 2 kills, you feel pretty damn good about it.
Well, he was pushing in. He's got some speedier boots now as well with the Sork shoe, so things looking good for Wayless and a potential roam strategy. We've got a revolver on Faker side, but Clearlove's back in bottom again. Chilling quite down onto Madlife. Marta looking for the hook, and Wayless is here again. Oh! Play from Marta. It's in Madlife. He's going to give him both. Hooks in onto the Tom Kench. He's going to look to go down. Stone will fall in, but they won't break. There's one for Uzi. There's 2. Uzi grabs the double this time.
The layering of the spells was so good from LPL. No CC was wasted. Held on to the hook till they saw the commitment on the W from Tom Kench. Poetry in motion from LPL.
Absolutely, but you also have to take into account that there weren't good wards in the river there. To get 4 people there once again, really the LCK just kind of caught sleeping, and it's really hurting them in the mid and the bot lane.
It's pretty telegraphed top-up stop as well. Yep, they're going to spot Faker.
Good ward. Haven't seen Bengi just yet, but he will take away the Gromp Mouse. Playing intelligently back. Both top laners burnt TP pretty aggressively to lane. But Wayless starting to shadow up to that left side. It's going to force Faker back after he's pushed the wave. And Madlife's here to collect some creeps for some reason. He'll donate a couple back over to Faker. But early game's certainly gone well. 5-1 up in kills already at 6.5 minutes.
I hyped up the Wayless versus Faker battle. These guys are known to play for their lane. Wayless isn't a big roamer. You would take someone spell Teleport and kind of try to be the team player, but would be anchored to lane. Love the 1v1. Appreciated no junglers if possible, but actually he's been on the front foot this game, and that's great to see the adaptation from Wayless. Not
to mention the early Sorcerer Shoes makes his level 6 threat so high. Oftentimes you'll see the Syndra back early on a Lost Chapter because that just gives you the mana to kind of shove out the wave. When he goes the early Sorcerer Shoes, that does speak to just wanting to immediately try and kill. And as you said, roam all the way to the bottom.
And the bounty also picking up the blue buff with those early 2 kills as well. So he didn't have the immediate mana problems. He loves here, he's level 6.
Stun missed, and I think that telegraphs that Faker has to know something might be amiss. He's got ulti and both summoners up as well, including the exhaust. So Clearlove, I think maybe thinks better of it. He's going to have Faker shadow toward him, but Clearlove's just going to duck out of vision, kind of see what happens, and tell the bottom lane that Faker's coming, which may be the most important thing. And now they'll spook. Oh, that actually does not reveal Evelyn. It's normal sight and wards only.
They did ping her out, however, so they are suspicious of it, for sure. And Faker's roams have generally been pretty ineffective this game. Out-roamed early on by Wayless, for sure.
The thing, you get pushed in all the time. It's really hard to leave your lane when you have to clear the creep waves out. Bengi's again back in bottom. Madlife going to get flayed back once more, but just a couple of trades here and there. Bengi's dipping down with ultimate, but no flash going to make that a hard play to convert on it. Uzi and Marta will keep the wave back.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it would require kind of a kick flash to really get them out of room away from the turret to actually pick up a kill. So low percentage gank from Bengi is not rewarded, and he's in vision, and in general, feels like the LPL have shadowed the LCK very well, made their own plays, but also a pretty good idea of exactly where the LCK has been playing.
Yeah, and it helps when you can see exactly where they are with your deep wards as they refresh them. Now, Mata able to get that incredibly early Sightstone after the kill, so he's been able to kind of cycle through this, and if they get the smite, they can also steal a boost, so that'll hurt Faker as well as Bengi.
But that's also because of the pressure Wayless has put down. It feels like they have the confidence to roam first to ensure that now Faker is punished both terms of being against a 2-0-2 opponent and not having blue because LCK is being dictated to.
And credit, of course, to top lane. We haven't seen much of it because it is that tank fest that we've seen, but Mouse did avoid the first 3-man dive there, even on CS, and have really just been kind of playing back and forth in the lane. Bengi again looking behind Faker to try and make something happen, but Clearlove here as well. And it does feel like the Evelyn's back. Clearlove always known for being in the right place at the right time, shadowing very nicely as Faker does take some harass.
Some vintage Marta, you have to say as well. His wards, of course, not the same ward economy that he was famous for in 2014 when there weren't that same situation where you put down as many wards as possible. But you 50
Oh my
Prey.
god, good eat from Madlife.
That is what Tahm Kench does. We're all excited about the hook, and Madlife says no thank you. Still, though, with Courage of the Colossus, Mata is able to play a lot more aggressive in this lane on the Thresh, and I'm looking forward to see if he can do some of those flash plays in team fights and get a 4 or 5-man Courage shield. There we go, hook the Thresh, get him low, so that if you land a hook, the heat isn't the same.
Prey still with ultimate, does take a Q there from Uzi, but is a little low on mana. So it'll just be some trades back and forth. Prey a little dangerous there, but should be okay with Madlife able to gobble him back up again. A quick correction, I was wrong. Scry's Bloom does in fact reveal the Evelyn, so there was knowledge down there. And looks like everyone kind of avoided that last little bot lane situation, but mid lane and bot lane, 2-0-2 and 2-0-3 for Wayless and Uzi respectively. These lanes are going fine and top lane is going even. This is perfect for LPL.
Yeah, and you really just have to look at the minimap to see where the game is going. The control wards are in the river for ice, and they're non-existent for fire except for one defensive control ward in their own jungle. This is very rare to see in any Korean game on the international stage, but early on at least, at the AllStar event, we're seeing LPL do it.
And speaking of rarities, it's not often that the Ezreal is the one pushing in the enemy AD carry, but with all that control, so risky for Prey and Madlife to push up anywhere near the river, and thus basically been Uzi and Mata having their way in bottom. Here we go!
Bengi kicks Wayless back in, but he's going to flash out of the way. Faker looking to chase him down, does take it, and Mouse going to cancel that TP. Clear.
One clear up too.
Now by Smeb, and there's the ultimate coming back.
Oh!
Great shot from Faker, there's a kill again for Bengi.
Just a clean turn right there by Faker and Bengi. Immediately killing Wayless. Doesn't matter that he's still on flash. Mata goes in though.
Smeb coming down, so this could be problems. Mata getting exhausted. Uzi has to run away. Prey is going to take him down with the ultimate. Uzi looks like he'll escape this one.
Bengi's looking for a dive.
Well, maybe not then, actually, as Uzi's going to have to fight his way out. He's just going to take it up, gets the Courage Shield, and Bengi gets himself another kill.
And LCK turns it on so quickly, but the big story is that Smeb made it to mid without having to use his teleport. The Poppy had to cancel teleport, but Smeb, you can see on your screen, goes for a walk. We're, of course, focused on Wayless going down, but Smeb turns his attention, spots Clearlove. Clearlove had revealed himself by popping his W for movement speed to try and be involved with Wayless, and then across the map, this is just a disaster for LPL.
It really is. Mata's looking aggressive, but Uzi's out of mana right here. They do not have the teleport advantage with Mouse already burning hits in the top lane.
Oh, no. But a Prey Clearlove's going to get a kill, so a little lazy there. Going to get Prey taken down, but Bengi going to hop away onto Madlife and be safe, and LPL at least adds a 1 kill back, but all of a sudden LCK are back in front by gold. It's not by much, it's under 1,000, but given the LPL were up 2,000 gold before, first start going to LCK changes a lot.
Yeah, 2,000 gold in 6 minutes, and this was almost kind of the story of a lot of games at Worlds where we'd see the LCK go ahead by 2,000 and say, oh, the game is over, no way you can come back on that. Yet you would routinely see them come back from 2,000 gold deficits, and it was just plays like that. They know where they can get their advantages. Faker wasn't necessarily behind, Bengi wasn't necessarily behind. They killed the most fed member right away before he could use his spells, and they channeled so much of their advantage off of him.
Also an adjustment of how specifically the Mouse vs Smeb matchup was going. We expected it to go. Of course, it didn't end up happening at Worlds, but we thought, okay, such a mismatch in terms of just individual skill. Gank the lane, put him behind is Faker has ulted here.
Good dodge, Protobelt in as well. Faker gonna get sent under the turret. Ulti's gonna take him down. No, not quite. There's enough, as the W won't connect. Mata here as well as Clev's gonna go in, but Bengi making a big play. Flash up from under Smeb's hook as Uzi gonna try and take one down. Mouse has joined the fray as well. Looks for the ulti. Finds Bengi there with a knocker, but Smeb's gonna be the one flayed back. But Clearlove and Wayless are so low. Uzi cutting back as best he can as there's a good double stun from the Cinder, but Prey looking to unleash the ulti. LPL playback.
Smeb is already absurdly tanky. You expect a lot of that between Mouse and Smeb this game. I want to speak a little bit about Faker, though, at the early part of that play. He didn't go for the GOP build. We saw him practicing the Worlds, but a Protobelt is fairly common for the Ahri, and it can still be decent against the Cinder because it gives you that little shot of health. It's pretty high CDR, so he should be able to cycle his ult very quickly, and he didn't actually have to burn his exhaust despite absorbing the ultimate from Wayless. So I think he's feeling pretty comfortable in that match.
He's got that Sapphire Crystal, though, so there's kind of a couple of options to go into the GLP, the Lich Bane, both build out. Could still be a lost chapter into a Morel and Omicron, so
Yeah.
has a lot of options there, but clearly going to be something fun coming next. And Smeb, it hasn't been about his lane. This guy who was voted, of course, the best player going into Worlds. It's been about his roaming around the map. Nautilus is a pick he played quite a lot for the Rocks Tigers, and just his map movement has been far superior to that of Mouse.
I think that early roam from top to mid lane really demonstrates that as Wayless and Faker will score up again. Prey's actually looking for the ambush here, and now going to get the cast down. Faker going to look for the charm. He lands it. Prey's going to get stunned, but Faker proto belts him to death.
One little thing you can see about Faker that's different to Xpecker, who played the Ahri yesterday, he maxes the charm seconds. It has the lower cooldown. Hit the charm. That was enough time to allow Prey to open up and do damage. Mid turret goes down as well, and suddenly, despite all the roaming advantages that Wayless has been able to put up, Faker's doing just fine.
Yep, mid turret going down as well just adds to the pressure they can hopefully get on the map. You can see the control worlds have been moved up for Fire as well right now, so they're feeling pretty confident after it was a bit of a disaster early.
Well, LPL have an Infernal Drake. They actually picked up the first one, and there's another one on the way, so creative objectives isn't too bad, but we've seen what happens when you can't consistently get turrets in the mid game, is you really just get smothered out of a game, and that was a big feature of LCK versus pretty much anyone else in their games, is that they were able to claim those important objectives and keep it going, but needs the teleport to make
Pushed
something
up.
happen.
Here's Mouse's chance to roam.
Does have his ultimate, so he might try and lock someone down. Prey knows he has to get out. Oh, interrupted. Madlife still has him in his belly, though, as there's the flash out. The ulti going to chase him down, but Clearlove gets one. Madlife sure to go down as Clearlove does take him out, but Prey flash cast out from under the turret, and that might be enough at will to get him to safety.
A bit optimistic to try and ult away any damage interrupts the Abyssal Voyage. That certainly wasn't going to work, so only one, and they invested the whole team to try and chase them down.
Yeah, considering it was a 5-man gank, I'd say having just Madlife go down, pretty good. The fact Prey was able to stay alive is a bit of a miracle since that gank started near the tier 2 of the LPL, and he was able to escape up ahead.
With the Sheen, it will be Lichbane Ahri. It's important to know that every cast of the ultimate from Ahri counts as a separate spell for a Lichbane proc. So if you can weave in those auto attacks, you can get a lot of damage. I believe it was Many Reason in Korea years ago that pioneered Lichbane Ahri, but it's so specific in the playstyle. It's very different, but it's cool to see it nonetheless hit the rip.
You can see Smeb, they're actually working the turret with Mouse down in that bottom side using the teleport. Smeb now will have Tippy advantage once again, and he almost took out that top adder as well. The big thing about that gank for me is that there's no turret damage really that could be done after it, so LPL are going to kind of play a little bit from behind here despite the gold being relatively close, unless they can find a way to open up the map a little more, because we've seen it time and time again. The LCK will take over and just grind you to a pulp.
Yeah, and I'm hoping this game evolves into some pretty explosive team fights, but Prey's good to be happy here. Mouse.
Good knock-up. Marta looks for the hook, finds it onto Smeb as he flashes out of the way. Clearlove's here, going to get ulted. In fact, Mouse going to eat the knock-up there as well. Madlife and Faker going to join in as well from the Abyssal Voyage as Bengi's already taken out Clearlove. Marta going to die on the other end as Smeb able to claim that kill. Uzi fighting as best he can, but he'll just get CC between almost every member of the team, and Mouse, he'll get away safely, but that's about all the good news.
Rotations is a word that has always been associated with the LCK. Changes to Abyssal Voyage make them easier. Wasn't sure because I wasn't focusing on the minimap whether it was going to be Prey or Faker, but Faker comes in, pops the ult, they pick up kills. Going to pick up a Rift Herald just as the icing on the cake, and it's looking very, very different. First 5 minutes looked so good for the Chinese squad, and even this engage, they thought they had something and very quickly did not.
Yeah, knockups on knockups as Bengi kicks them back, then Smeb also. Clearlove goes down without really doing much. And then even though Uzi did have flash, so did everyone on Fire, so he doesn't bother flashing over the wall as his demise was pretty much set.
Yeah, Faker's position was really smart. He actually moved next to the wall, still had another charge of his ultimate, so could have Spirit Rushed over, wouldn't even have to invest his flash, so no way for Uzi to get out. Dies with both summoners up, and gold lead, look, it's still in touching distance, but certainly has been a big swing since the first salvos were fired by LPL.
Can confirm that Smeb was the recipient of the Rift Herald buff, so he will have that. Marta will not get his favorite buff this time around. Faker though just going to continue to push this out. Should have a nice injection of gold after those early kills from the LCK. Next Drake is up in under 20 seconds, and you can see Ice are setting up for it on this right-hand side. You're going to try and look for something a little more, though, as I would love to get a pick beforehand. Uzi, relatively strong at this point, has a lot of components, but they're pretty good, and looks like the first turret's going to go over as well, as Uzi able to take down that bottom outer turret.
Finally, the LPL gets on the board with turrets. Uzi definitely going to the Triforce build. Smeb, though, does have teleport. They're not able to pick Benji off that. And he's actually just going right back in.
Yeah, Clearlove Gonna try and cover, but Mad Life said to give a ward to Bengi to hop to effectively.
I mean, Bengi's 4 levels above Marta, so he's actually feeling pretty comfortable at his damage. Thunderlords, of course, is the mastery now on Lee Sin's. Does more damage than previous seasons.
This is a little risky.
Very risky, I would say, as Mouse slams Mad Life into a wall. Not a bad target, but he's pretty tanky as Smeb, still with the teleport, can join if needed. Mouse has come down already, but they're going to maybe start a 50-50 here, and they have to be careful.
You'd think Ice would concede this, but Team Fire doesn't actually have to do anything super aggressive now, since they have Smeb pushing in the side lane. As soon as Ice all commit in the Dragon Pit, Fire can just open up with Prey's Twitch ultimate, and then they can teleport in with Nautilus. So the longer they do this dance, though, the better it is for the LCK.
You see that red ward, the terror that will be created by Nautilus coming in right now.
That's going to TP in, and Bengi looks for a big kick. Smarter hits the Mouse. No, not quite connecting. His Mouse is going to block the rest of the team. Charges up the ulti as Baker's on the left-hand side for the flank, and LPL runs straight towards the bottom of the map.
And even though Mouse has teleport, it's going to be an Infernal Drake for sure. It's only going to match the first one from LPL, although Ice, they look to contend.
Clearlove still has ultimate. They want to fight.
He wants to steal it. Clear's going to look to go back in. They'll pull off the Dragon. There's a hook left into Mad Life. Mouse slams him into a wall. The Bengi is going to get the Dragon, but Tom will fall down. Now Clearlove in the backside, trying to take down Prey. Mouse is there as well, but Faker doing so much damage in that back end. Oh. The ulti barely misses from the Ezreal. 2 down there versus 2. Very close fight, and the Dragon did go over to Korea.
Yeah, got the Dragon, but as you could see, it was a very close fight. Prey didn't have his ultimate, or at least wasn't able to get the most value out of it. 2 items not completed yet either for either AD carry. I think still very close despite the gold.
Yeah, Faker nearly 1v3'd on the backside of that fight, and Bengi now actually just trying to interrupt recalls as much as possible as Faker sheens down this turret in the mid lane.
See that replay here. We were focused on Clearlove because he could have got a 3-4-man ultimate, but when the Ahri enters the fight, that's when things really change. So he actually corrals Wayless, Marta, and Uzi, and gets out. That's actually massive, the amount of space that was controlled. It felt like Faker was the poppy because he was the one corralling the backline. He wasn't even playing tank.
Going for Bengi again. Those been smited down. Wayless actually looking for the stun. Bengi, no flash there. Does dodge out the next stun, but Wayless going to keep chasing him down. He's still there. Mad Life collects the delivery and scaves his jungler.
Might be the right hand of God, but turns out he's pretty damn good on his own, is Bengi.
I thought that might have been a bit of a replay of Wayless' Cinder yesterday, where he misses all his skill shots and then just presses R and gets the kill anyway. But Mad Life was luckily there to pull Bengi to safety after Bengi made that nice escape act.
Well, Blue Buff going to go over. Wayless was very short on mana in the last Dragon fight, so won't be for the next engagement. And just to make things fun, we've traded the first 2 Infernals, and the next Drake is an Infernal as well. So if those high-powered team fights, what you're looking for, gents, you're going to get them, assuming this map opens up a little more.
And the big objective for LPL is to get these outer turrets. When you're so far behind in turrets with an Evelynn, it's so hard to have the map pressure that Evelynn almost solo can during the laning phase when the lanes are a lot shorter. The map is so open, the deep wards come down, all of these camps are going to be warded, and although Clearlove isn't spotted yet, it's 2 levels behind his opposition and rapidly moving away from relevance in this game.
Yeah, and you can also see Prey's Twitch, despite dying 4 times, and despite having the early lane go so poorly, he still managed to get to Infinity Edge Hurricane, but at the same time, Uzi's hit 2 items. So if he gets a good spray and pray in any of these fights, that's just another thing that's in the advantage of the LCK.
Ooh, good stun. Faking to get all in. Ulti's up. Oh! There's the shutdown from Wayless.
Not quite a solo kill. Somehow Ezreal crept in and got some kill involvement, but that's suddenly going to be a lot of pressure onto this mid lane turret. Prey and Mad Life going to be walking up to try and cover it, but 5 men strong here for Team Ice.
LPL need this turret as well. We've talked about how they need that pressure. Wayless trying to zone them off with the spheres. But they might need another wave for it, and that could be very bad news. Uzi throwing in poke and weaving and auto attacks where he can. It's going to be close. The last minion's going to die. Hook on the bank. Good connect there. Great hit from Mad Life, but he's still going to get stunned. Praise falls somehow as Mouse going to look after Mad Life. Grace gets not enough to save him as they're just going off here. Wayless, though, hooked in by Smevers. They'll be able to dope between the turrets. Wayless going to get knocked up there by the ulti, but Smevers hooked up again. Q going to miss onto the back end of the Syndra. They got the turret, they got a couple kills. Very nice dive.
Huge playmaking there by Ice. It all starts with Wayless getting the stun onto Faker so he can get his full combo off. But then, the rest of Korea thought they'd be able to stick around to defend this very low turret. And watch the stun out of Wayless here. He doesn't shoot for the lead, he shoots for the Tom Kench because he knows that's where everyone is eventually going to end up.
And he got a bonus. He got the Twitch as well, who was on top of the model of Tom Kench. He went down first. That was more wave clear gone. Smeb at this point isn't looking for a kill realistically. He's looking to just try and keep as much health on this inner mid lane turret as possible. That mission is a success, but I'm loving the seesaw we're seeing because this match is certainly not in the books yet.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tougher in the late game for the LPL to cut through Nautilus and Tom's Tent specifically in those fights, but if they keep getting picks like this and can get the damage away from the LCK before the front line can really take effect, that's going to be their window into winning this game.
Well, Baker forced to blink away, and Wayless is chasing for the ulti. Uzi shifts forward, looking for a little bit more. LPL 4-man strong as Mata flash hook finds Mad Life stun chain in there as the play is good. Mad Life barely gets the shield up, but it's not enough for Clear Love as he does take him down.
This pick comp is doing exactly what it was made for. It was a very early draft of the Thresh. Early laning phase, big check mark for Mata. Died a couple of times in the mid game, but now as the mid game starts to enter its later phases, the playmaking is real.
Yeah, and they've been pretty choosy with who they're killing. It's specifically the bottom lane. 11 of the 13 deaths on the LCK have been that bottom lane, so that's exactly who the rest of the LPL are shooting for.
Yeah, Smep was worried there about getting collapsed stuns, just teleported to his inner turret. Does mean that Mouse has a teleport advantage, and as this game has suddenly got a bit more to it for the LPL squad, they've gotten out of mid lane turret. They're going to keep pushing in mid. They can park Poppy in a side lane and just try and play the map pressure game for the next 5 minutes.
Got the top turret as well as Bengi will be spotted by a control ward, so the game is getting close to even as LCK are only 2,000 gold up. 45 seconds to the next Infernal Drake as well, as we are going to have to start taking a look at the big mid-game item spikes. Uzi working on kind of his third item there, but had a pretty cheap one to start as Bengi leaps in, but he'll be safe this time.
Had Thresh, the Twitch in camouflage to give him a exit with his W, so nothing ventured, nothing gained there. Baker was doing his split pushing act, was top, but as back tier, doesn't have his third item yet. Will be Death Cap coming for too long as the junglers in the same quadrant, but not spotting each other just yet.
Yeah, so much of this is going to be about the pre-fight picks because everyone's going to want that next Infernal Drake that spawns here. Baker just now coming from base, so Fire, while they are in the jungle, was really kind of dangerous being there, but here we go. They get a lot of damage on a Mouse.
Yeah, Lantern out, so that cooldown not available for about 15 seconds there for Mata, but Mouse didn't take too much damage. 25% health of a Poppy is decent though for LCK, and the Drake is ready and alive, so let's see what happens.
And the big thing here is if they can kite out specifically Twitch Soldier, that'd be big, as Mata takes a big burst.
Ooh, Mouse hooked again, but he didn't get the shield. Smeb looking for something, but it's just poke back. Nobody wants to damage down the tanks.
Yeah, Mata also burned his redemption pre-fight right there, so add that to the poke he took afterwards, and it pretty much just means a full concede on Infernal.
Man, 3 Infernal Drakes to start. What was always going to be a fiery one is letting us know that the damage is starting to rack up. Specifically, Frey will be the big recipient here. Looks like he might be going last with for next, just to have hope in hell of being able to do damage to the Poppy.
Baker even covering a mid after that play as well, so LPL tried to get something back, but of course, the LCK have covered that. We'll lose nothing off of that play. Faker now going to get himself the blue buff as Mouse returns to the top side of the map, and Smeb's going to go back and likely return to at least challenge the wave as it comes forward. And last whisper done for Uzi means that these damage items are really starting to rack up quickly.
And the most fun thing is, as Jatt said, this is very much pick comp versus pick comp, especially where we're at in the game. Ari and Syndra really let you know that. It's skill shots everywhere. Line skill shots, CCs to start fights. So, okay, Nautilus can kind of ruin that parade, walk in and depth charge someone, but everyone else is fishing for initiation. So when you have that kind of skill execution required on both sides, it means that theoretically, the better team should win.
Yeah, it actually makes me very surprised that ICE hasn't swapped out for more sweepers. Only having one sweeper 27 minutes of the game is actually really rare, and you would need kind of 5 control wards on the map at all times to have any semblance of vision denial in order to get picks, but they haven't necessarily done that, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to actually get picks onto Fire.
Well, we can see teams are, of course, setting up for the Baron now because the last Infernal Drake was taken down. Next one's an Ocean, which is a little less exciting, but unfortunately we can only have 3 Infernal, even here at AllStars.
We didn't change that knob.
No.
Every Drake's a Fire Drake. It's AllStar.
No.
Maybe for next year.
Wasn't in the script. As Void stuff been picked up for Wayless as well, so Drake has really come out on the big carries for both sides here. Mid and 80 carry on either side are looking good. Got a bit of damage. Actually, a Protobelt Eve, which I do like. And Baker, all the way onto Wayless, kicks them back in. Baker collects it, and there's a shutdown.
The follow there was so important. Went for the aggressive bash. They got the kill. 5v4, but what will Fire do with the advantage? 40 seconds on the respawn from Wayless.
Well, it looked like Wayless actually flashed a little bit early because he was hoping that Bengi would complete his Resonant Strike, then flash over wall. Another pick
Faker looking for it, but Mata gonna get taken down. Bengi now unstoppable, as that's 2 for LCK, and again, the dance around Baron will just keep going.
There's some vision in the area, but it's only 3 members strong, so what exactly can Ice do?
What kind of dance is it really going to be if it's only 3 people?
Yes, now running interference on the mid lane as well, so has spotted them. 4-man ban for LCK, should be fine. Clearlove gonna try and steal it. There's a bit of vision from the Ezreal as Mouth looking to get in there. Clearlove trying to find something as well, but Mouth's gonna go down here as he's caught by Smeb Prey, able to collect that one in the Baron. Awfully low, Clearlove not in range to steal it, and they took a lot of damage, but that's a pretty clean Baron.
I mean, there's not many better top laners than the Nautilus to be the gatekeeper of a Baron when you have a 2-man advantage. Walks has so many CCs, including a point and click. The contesting just wasn't really realistic. If you watch, Wayless tried to time the flash, didn't get it, and then Bengi was counter-bashing. Bengi actually had the flash for the flash kick to confirm the kill for Faker.
Yeah, so poorly done a little bit by Wayless, but obviously the threat of the immediate kick flash is going to make it a very tight timing of wanting to get it right away. Bengi the beneficiary, very strong game on recent from him.
Even in slow motion, it was hard to tell with the following of the Q whether the flash.
Because you still saw the flash particle
exactly.
from Wayless, and you're like, was it Bengi's flash? No, it was not. He used it like a second.
Yep.
Well, D-Faker's also got their Abaddon, so he's certainly piling up. As far as picks go,
There
there's
we
another
go.
one as Wayless. He's going to go down again. Too much time in that side lane as Mata made his goal. Also, Redemption down. Mad Life is the target, but he's pretty safe. Kill the Uzi. There's a good chunk of damage. Faker proto-bolts towards him as the Lantern's out, but everyone's safe for now. And that Baron empowered minions from the LCK going to make this seed real difficult to try and crack.
And of course, down bottom, we can see with the teleport still up, Smeb, level 16, pushing those minions in with a Baron buff of his own. Usually Nautilus, not really known for his turret pressure, but with the Iceborne Gauntlet complete, and Mouse not in the lane, goodbye bot lane turret. Gold continues to rack up for LCK.
Yeah, and I do want to speak very quickly to Faker's build right now, because a lot of people like having Void Staff a little earlier in a build, but specifically on this Ahri, I don't think it's necessary. So there's AP ratios on both the Lich Bane and the Proto Belt, and then also his Q does true damage on the pass-through. So because he's racking up so much AP, he's really increasing his total AP ratio so much more with the build on top of everything. So I really like that combination of items.
And just simply, the wave clear's not too great on the side of Fire, so flat ability power much more superior for pushing waves. And Faker's in the side lane, Smeb's in the side lane. Faker never needs teleport to enter a side lane. It's just his play style. So light AP, and as you say, all the hidden AP ratios and true damage deprioritizes the Void Staff to probably a 6-item slot.
After the big back and forth, Bengi, I like it. It's twice now that he's kind of outthought Mata on the potential hook. But what was a close-ish game has become not particularly close at this stage. Almost 8k up for LCK with all 3 lanes pushing in now. Maybe caught here, but hook onto Mad Life's going to have some damage. Down that charge lands onto Wayless, so he's going to get back to the safety of his turret. LPL need to defend here, but they just got mid lane broken.
Just playing the map so smartly here, Fire. A couple more auto attacks. There's going to be the mid lane inhibitor. Smeb not done in bot either.
Well, Mouse is taking a lot of damage, so he's going to have to be careful. That Baron Cannon creep is causing trouble as the Twitch and the Lich Bane are just going to melt this turret. Bengi's caught, but he's not going to die there either. I don't want to commit on a target that's not a big carry, but kind of running out of things to try and kill here.
I mean, at this point, Smeb takes no damage from anything. We're not going to see those Titans Wrath shields, especially if Courage of the Colossus proc going down anytime soon.
Not to mention, one of the less talked about changes of this season is the turret lasers are gone, and it's just the normal shots again, which really just kind of brings back the turret diving and the base diving, because once you do get a little bit tanky, you can essentially ignore those turrets, and that's exactly what the LCK was able to do there, very efficiently opening up the second inhibitor.
And the Ezreal, look, a good laning choice, a good blind pick, doesn't do much against Guardian Angel for tank item North. Not a tank buster like his opposing number in Twitch, so although he'll be able to keep alive Uzi, he's going to have a field day trying to do any damage past the wall that is Smeb.
Well, Ocean Drake's going to go down, and that means Elder will spawn as our next one. LCK are also officially 10,000 gold ahead in this game after breaking 2 inhibitors, and the turrets that went with the mid and bottom lane are looking awfully vulnerable, and it's just that top side left. We kind of expect them to do this academically like they almost always have, and if was ever been a word to describe the top Korean teams, I think clinical comes to mind, and that should be exactly how this game ends. We'll see if LPL have any answers down very far behind.
Still praying Smeb there, rocking the Rocks Tigers though. They weren't necessarily clinical. They made some clinical aggressive plays, but they weren't the surgical team that SKT was, so we'll wait. But I don't think they need to apply too much creativity. They're so far ahead Just look at Faker against a full tank Poppy, chunking him out.
And now Clearlove and maybe some few friends. Baker gonna take damage, Proto bounce away. Clearlove wants to chase him down!
Hey.
But the pass-through is gonna proc the G, and Faker gets out.
And there we go. Inhibitor
Meanwhile,
number 3 able to come down. You almost thought Faker was going to be able to get caught. And if you're the LPL, you think flanking behind his Evelyn is a good choice. But Faker now back in base could maybe catch him in a 45.
Caught Smap! Did you? There's not much to really do there.
That was the most excited I've ever heard someone talking about catching a Nautilus.
Down as well. Mad Life saves it, but the fight's gonna break out. Uzi gets demolished in the front line, but will blink himself to safety. Had to burn the flash to do so as Ice is still trying to fight their way out. Bengi slammed into a wall, will go down, but Syndra's fallen as well as Smeb just takes almost no damage. Uzi gonna try and take him down. Needs a little bit more, and that will pop the GA.
He'll be back.
But he's still got more to go. Mad Life's here again to eat him down. Mouse just gonna get himself locked off, and this is tough to watch. Mad Life gonna cobble the Poppy. Smeb's gonna CC him forever, and that's just unfair.
Depth charge to death, but look at the super minions.
No, they don't have enough damage.
And the only way the game could end is the Winions. LCK will take down LPL.
Well, that was an ending to cap off what was a really fun game. LPL at 2 moments in the game were ahead, specifically early, and they started to crest ahead or come back in the mid game, but otherwise, kind of business as usual for the LCK squad.
Yeah, Faker, a little sad he didn't make it into the last fight. He had to proc Clearlove GA, then the rest of the team just tank fought their way to victory with the minions. But as you said, Papasmithy, a pretty fun game. It wasn't ending, for sure, as far as minions are concerned. And I like to see the Ahri come out as well.
Yeah, it was great to see a couple different picks there. Again, Uzi, we talked about the Nautilus. He's a huge tank. He's very difficult to kill. He's certainly not a tank master on the Ezreal. No, would have busted through that tank, Papasmithy.
The Vayne.
Vayne might have. That's why you always pick Vayne.
And whatever, and as many times he locks it in, I'm not going to associate Ezreal with Uzi. He can play Ezreal, but it's not one of his big champions. No. And look, at the point where Nautilus had 4 tank items, it didn't matter. There was nothing he was going to be able to do in this game. Prey was kind of an afterthought, but really good performance overall for LCK.
Certainly nice to see that even though Clearlove's teammates may change, the plan does remain the same. Can't bottom lane, get far ahead. Unfortunately, versus the LCK, that's not always enough.
Yeah, I mean, they killed them many times.
Really did.
12 deaths on that bottom lane in an otherwise very snowball games. If you just look at the guys that weren't the bottom lane for the LCK, Smeb never died. Bengi died twice, and Faker died once when he got killed by the Syndra. So pretty much just the bottom lane that was being camped that entire game. The rest of the LCK there was doing pretty solid.
But when they lost those 2 mid lane turrets, when Wales kind of farming at his inhibitor turret 15 minutes into the game, it just never really had the pressure that they had early in the game. It felt like once they lost that, specifically the first kill in mid, their mid outer turret, they couldn't continue the style that got them so much of an advantage in the early game, and it just fell away there for LPL.
Yeah, easily a big swing when Bengi came mid lane and got Faker the kill, and then they were able to chain that with the Smeb roam into the teleport down on the bottom side. So yes, their bottom lane lost, but they had 2 other winning lanes because Smeb was able to roam so much, and that's enough.
I feel like we've seen this so much in this matchup between these regions in particular. Strong aggressive early game from the Chinese team. Korea comes through in the mid game with those just clean, incredible map movements, and even AllStars with like a mixed team, teams everywhere, all these star players, they still know how to do that.
It's like the story of anyone against Korea. A few kills happen, you're like, this could happen. Maybe we could see Korea at least. No. Oh, it's AllStar. Maybe they won't be taking me. No, they're taking it seriously enough. They're going to win. It just happens every time.
It certainly does. It always looks a little bit rough.
An old story, but one I can support. Turns out Korea's pretty good. Actually ties up the scores. Ice and Fire now both 350, so nice. It's the high drama going as well.
High drama, first to 1,000. How have we only had 700 points in the first 3 days? That's because we have more points on the line on the final day.
That's true. We do have a lot of points on the line, but for more on that victory, let's roll over to Dash, who's ready for an interview.